Can you hear me now? I don't know what's going on with my sound these days. All right. So now that we got that straight, let's start this all over again, shall we? Welcome to the Mission Ready Men briefing right here on the SHR Media Network, where masculinity has not been recalled and faith has not been neutered. It is Tuesday, December 30th, in the year of our Lord 2025. The year is just about over, and we're going to talk about that a little later. But this is not just politics. This is spiritual warfare, and it's dressed up as progress. So we're done pretending, we're done pulling punches, and we are never going to apologize. You're not going to get soy lattes and group hugs here, but stick around because you might just learn something. Now let's get after it. All right, so I didn't think we would end up talking about this guy much until he took office, but Zohran Mamdani is this New York is going to be a disaster. The appointments that he's made so far, the two most, well, three, but we're only going to talk about two, but he's made some ridiculous appointments. And I know some people are going to defend one of them to the hilt, and others are going to defend all of them, no matter what he does, no matter what they do, no matter what their background is. But he made some really the way this is rolling out. He is going to end up with it's already shaping up to be a disaster. When you are sloppy in the very beginning, that sets the tone for everything else. In his transition, some of the things that he's done, and his transition team, they have made some really ridiculous, unforced errors. And one of them, let's start with this. Zohran Mamdani's transition team misspelled two of the names on his picks, including a convicted felon who is going to be on his criminal justice advisory board, or whatever they're calling it. My son, before we even get into him, let's just talk about the fact that they misspelled these. They misspelled the names of the people who he's appointed. That's just that's sloppy. That's lackadaisical. That speaks to that just pretty much shows you what he is going to be like as mayor and what his team is going to be like. Because if you can't get those basics right, if you can't spell the names of your appointees right, what else are you just going to be sloppy and lackadaisical about? There wasn't anyone who oversaw that, looked at it and said, hey, let's make sure we get these names spelled correctly. No. Now, that in and of itself is just ridiculous, because if you allow something like that to happen in your administration, for the next 4 years, it's just going to be one disaster after another. And one of those disasters is, I'm going to go ahead and start with, I wasn't going to, but since we already mentioned him, I'm going to start with his criminal legal system committee appointee, who goes by the name of My Son Lennon. He was a rapper back in the day. And he was convicted of multiple armed robberies, served prison time, and is now going to serve as some sort of advisor on criminal justice. We know how it works because Mamdani is an anti-police communist. So we know that this is at the very least just a middle finger to everyone who supports law enforcement. At worst, it is designed to undermine an already shaky and already terrible justice system in New York. I mean, they just let criminals walk right out the door after they've been arrested. The cops haven't even finished the paperwork on the arrest yet, and they're out the door. And that's only going to continue with this guy. So My Son Lennon. Let's get into this a little bit. This is the guy. My Son Lennon is, as I said, a convicted felon, served 7 years for armed robbery on 2 taxi drivers. Hit one with a bottle. Another one was held at gunpoint. He's maintained his innocence, but I mean, prisons are full of innocent people, right? So I mean, that means absolutely nothing. Justice advisor. Now, we know Mamdani's background as being a terrorist sympathizer. He's been pictured with the mastermind of the World Trade Center bombing in '93. But here is a picture of Lennon with notorious Muslim anti-Semite Louis Farrakhan. And I'm sure that Farrakhan has some affinity for Mamdani, being a fellow Muslim. And I don't know if Lennon's religious background is in Islam. My guess is he is. This is going to be a disaster. And anyone who thinks that New York is going to be safer in the coming years is delusional. Delusional. And on a certain level, I feel sorry for the people of New York. And then on another level, they elected this guy. The people get the government they deserve. And I'm not sorry about that. So we'll keep an eye on that. That's going to be, as I said, that's going to be a disaster. It is a disaster in the making. But the other thing I want to talk about is his appointee for fire chief. And there's a lot of back and forth about this. His appointee for the incoming FDNY fire commissioner, not chief, is a woman by the name of Lillian Bonsignor. She's never served as a firefighter. She was an EMT, so she has been a first responder for 31 years, and that's great. But she's never fought a fire. She has no knowledge of operational command on a fire scene, nothing like that. And she is about to be the top firefighter in the city of New York. Let's take a look at this.
Lillian Bonsignor is a career first responder. In just 9 days, she'll be running the world's busiest fire department, one of the most important appointments of the incoming administration.
And they deserve a leader who cares about their work because she did it herself.
No, she didn't. No, she didn't.
Who understands every detail and who will fight tirelessly to empower FDNY and make it the best firefighting force in the world.
Lillian Bonsignor began her career as an EMT in 1991 and was ultimately promoted to chief of the city's EMS division, where she served for 3 years before retiring in 2022. Although she never served as a firefighter, she's confident that won't.
I know the job. I know what the firefighters need, and I can translate that to this administration who's willing to listen. I know what EMS needs. I have been EMS for 30 plus years.
Bonsignor is a trailblazer for the LGBTQ community, who will serve as the FDNY's first openly gay commissioner. She's a highly respected, detail-oriented manager whose style has been compared to NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch.
Jessica Tisch also never served as a police officer. She has been the commissioner of a few different departments in New York. I can't remember what they are off the top of my head. One of them was IT. So I'm not sure what Eric Adams was thinking when he appointed her, other than the fact that she is a billionaire heiress. Her family owns about 1/3 of the Lowe's Corporation. So I think that is probably her only qualification, quite frankly. And yeah, that's enough of that. The FDNY is not a medical response agency. I know all of her defenders are going to say that, or have been saying that, 70+% of the calls that FDNY goes on are EMT calls. But it's the fire department, not the EMS department. And firefighters, this is going to be a blow to the morale, I think, in that agency. Because cops, firefighters, they want someone in charge who actually knows what they're going through. And she can say, because she was an EMS and she worked with the FDNY, that she knows, but she doesn't. She doesn't. And I'm not even getting into the openly gay nonsense. Who cares? The only thing I will say about that is we saw how that worked out in LA. And we'll just leave that there. This is, between this and the Mysone Linen appointment to the public safety, I mean, public safety is going to take a huge hit in New York under this guy. Huge. And get ready, New York. You are about to reap the whirlwind. And I am so glad that I do not live in New York. My goodness, I would be hightailing out of there. But this is just indicative of the whole mindset of Zohran Mamdani. He doesn't care about the safety of the citizens of New York. There's no way he could. There's no evidence in what he's done so far to suggest that. He's been anti-cop from the beginning. And he's appointed this convicted felon to the public safety board or whatever it is, saying it's some sort of redemption arc or whatever. But redemption does not mean, and even if he has somehow redeemed himself, even if he has somehow seen the error of his ways and is a different person, I doubt it. But let's just stipulate for the record that that's true. That still doesn't make somebody with that background, doesn't give them the authority over public safety. It doesn't give them any sort of authority over that. At least it shouldn't. And in a sane world, it wouldn't. But we're talking about New York under Mamdani, so there's that. And he really didn't explain, other than that, how he vetted any of these people. And he's basically just dismissing the public's concern about all of this. But he's supposed to be for the people, and the people have issues with the way he's doing things already. I guess the bar for advising on crime policy is having committed some. It's what it seems like. And the bar for being commissioner of two of the best fire and police departments in the world is being a woman. Because neither one of them have any experience in leading or in the fields where they're leading these men and women. That is a recipe for disaster. These leadership positions that he's got these people in, he's treating them as if there's some sort of symbolic gesture with no real gravitas behind it. It's just, they're figureheads. It shows a lack of seriousness, a total lack of respect for these institutions. We know he hates the police, and apparently he doesn't have much use for the fire department either, which is sad. I mean, I don't know how you can't have respect for those people running into burning buildings. I actually did that a couple of times as a police officer. Mad respect for those guys. Mad respect. And for the people who, and I also have experience in working for a department that had a political appointee who had no business being in charge of anything related to that department. So I know that these guys are going to have some issues with it. And I'm surprised we haven't even really heard much about the the police department having a problem with this woman as their commissioner. Maybe I just haven't looked hard enough, but we'll see. Public safety is a huge component of running a city, running a state, running a country. You don't fix issues with public safety by offending the people who actually provide it. I don't get it. I don't get it. All right. We may end up running a little over it today because I have a lot I want to talk about. We'll see if we can motor through some of this stuff, but there's one thing that I want to talk about, and regardless of how long I run over, I am going to get to that. But one thing I want to talk about, another thing I want to talk about is Tucker Carlson. And I don't want to talk about him, but I think we have to talk about him because it is, I don't understand what happened. I used to be a big fan of Tucker Carlson. I used to watch him almost daily. Because at the time, years ago now, he had some really sharp, insightful things to say that made a ton of sense. And if you weren't listening to him from the public policy perspective, then you were probably getting some things wrong. What happened? I have absolutely no idea, but something broke. Something broke. And the other day, Tucker Carlson said something so utterly ridiculous that it defies, it almost defies description. But before we actually do that, I want to acknowledge the people in chat. Mickey Smith on Facebook, good afternoon. O2AMT, good morning. Thank you for being here. Thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. But yeah, let's talk about this, because this was infuriating and mystifying that he could actually say this and not break out into that stupid laugh that he's developed in recent days. He was on a podcast for the American Conservative, and he said this.
TPUSA did a poll during AmFest, or I guess it was after AmFest, and they asked the audience, what they considered to be the greatest threat to America. And they did put radical Islam at #1. I'm wondering where you think those sentiments are coming from. I mean, I've heard you say before that this is an op, and that we all know which foreign government it's actually coming from. Which government is it, and can you explain how that operation works? How is it, kind of lured into those?
It comes from the Israeli government and its many defenders and
the Israeli government, really? Okay, let's continue.
Formal employees in the United States, of course. And I guess I would just say if that was actually, I don't know how people responded to the poll. I don't know who answered it, but, I believe in measuring reality a little more empirically. And
do you, though? Do you really believe in measuring reality that way? Nothing you've done in the past couple of years proves that to me. But anyway.
And, I don't know anyone in the United States in the last 24 years who's been killed by radical Islam.
Really? Now, I think some people have defended him, saying he didn't know anyone personally. the tone of that remark did not suggest that. And even if he did mean it that way, I'm not buying it. The fact that he would let that spill out of his face, if anyone had any use for Tucker Carlson, given everything that has happened in the past couple of years, if you hear that and you still give credence to anything this guy says, I don't know what to tell you. But I have to question you too, honestly.
I know a lot of people who have killed themselves, a lot. I know people who've died of drug ODs, more than a few. I know people can't get jobs. None of the boys in my daughter's classes can get jobs. None of those white boys can get jobs. They're being destroyed, by Adderall and video games and porn. Like I see millions of Americans being destroyed, and none of it is at the hands of radical Islam. Is radical Islam bigger danger than OnlyFans? It's not even close.
Okay. Let's get into this. He said in the past 24 years. So he's doing what leftists do and completely leaving out 9/11. When leftists talk about radical Islam, that's what they say. They frame it from 2001 on. They don't include that because that will completely destroy their narrative. And that's exactly what he did. Now, Tucker Carlson has been repeatedly over the recent years, minimizing Islamic violence, minimizing the impact of Sharia law, showing criticism and hostility towards people who actually who criticize Islam rather than the radical ideology that it is. I mean, he just bought a place in Qatar. I mean, he might as well just move there, seriously. He frames Islam as being misunderstood. And I can't stand these people who, like Piers Morgan is another one, who says that there are violent passages in the Quran and there are violent passages in the Bible, who say that for all the violent passages in the Quran, there's also passages that talk about peace. That may be true, but at the same time, it's not Christians who are going around killing people who don't believe the same way. It's not Christians who are blowing up buildings. It's not Christians who are flying planes into buildings. It's not Christians who are beheading so-called infidels. It's not Christians who are tossing gay people off of roofs. From Tucker Carlson, Islam gets all the nuance, and Christianity gets all the mockery. But let's check the receipts. There was an attack on a recruitment center in Little Rock, the Fort Hood massacre. 13 people were killed, I believe. San Bernardino, there were 14 people who died. The Pulse nightclub, 49 people were killed. The Chattanooga recruitment office, military recruitment office, 4 Marines and a sailor were killed. The Pensacola Naval Air Station, 3 airmen were killed. The Boston Marathon bombing, the New York City bike path attack, where a radical Islamist drove his vehicle onto the bike path and killed, I believe, 8 people. The Bourbon Street attack, New Year's Eve this year, or New Year's Day. And I can't remember exactly how many people died in that attack, but no one has been killed in the past 24 years at the hands of radical Islam, really. Okay. These were not lone wolves. These were people who subscribed to an ideology. And that ideology led them to kill. I mean, that's a lot of funerals for something that is not happening. Now, his point about OnlyFans and porn and video games and stuff like that, those things do rot culture. And I'm actually going to get into that a little later. But cultural decay is corrosive and it does damage, yes. Radical Islam is violent. People die at the hands of radical Islam every day. I mean, when he owned the Daily Caller, one of his reporters was captured and beheaded at the hands of ISIS. That was in 2014, I believe. That was well within his 24-year time frame. Video games can rot brains if it's done to excess, yes. Porn ruins souls. Jihadists end lives. And to suggest that those are equivalent in any way is at the very least intellectually dishonest. At the least. And from my perspective, it's just flat out evil to even suggest that. And this, the effect that this has, because Tucker Carlson, despite his ravings of late, has millions of people who follow him. Millions of people listen to him. Millions of people still give credence to the things that he says. And for him to minimize the threat of radical Islam, that leads to policy blindness, because people are going to take his word for it and think that it's not a thing. Think that it's not something really worth focusing on. And then when you have policy blindness to that respect, you're unprepared. You're unprepared. I know people hate Islamists, hate Islam. As a Christian, I'm commanded to love my enemy. That's a tough one. That is a tough one. But you have to tell the truth about Islamism. And Tucker Carlson is flat out lying to millions of people. When the threat is as real as this is, minimizing it is not wisdom. Minimizing it is not compassion. It's negligence dressed up as sophistication. And that's what Tucker Carlson is doing. He's putting himself out there as this enlightened guy who has all the answers, and he is lying to everyone. BZ has a list of some of the attacks, Islamist attacks, some of which I mentioned, some of which I didn't. But I mean, and there are, come on, there's so many more. I actually forgot about the Times Square bombing attempt too. You're right, BZ. I mean, there's just, it's completely asinine for him to make that assertion. Completely asinine. All right. Let me, yeah, to start, exactly, BZ. Yeah, absolutely right. All right. Let's get a word in from our sponsor. And I talked about this a while back. And as you can see, I'm wearing a different hat today. This is my new custom hat from Burning It Up Hat Company. Kerry is awesome. Let's, I think I might have shared this before, but let's take a look. This is a video of her making this hat. Here's my custom insert. This hat is awesome, by the way. I absolutely love it. But check out Burning It Up Hat Company. This is her website, and she does a lot of burn-ins on the hats, and they look amazing. They look absolutely amazing. These are some of the designs that she has. And this one right here looks like it has that burnt in look to it. And all kinds of great designs. You know what? Let's, where did it go? These are some of the reviews. But there's one review that I want to, this is the beautiful Queen Bee, my wife, and she is rocking a custom hat from Burning It Up. And it is her go-to hat for life, she says. And it's awesome. It is an awesome hat, just like the one I'm wearing. BZ says, wowzer at the price, some of the prices. But you know what though? Worth every penny. So please go ahead and check out Kerry at Burning It Up Hat Company. You will not be disappointed if you are in the market for a hat like this. And she actually even makes other hats too. I can't remember where I saw it. Oh yeah. Custom caps as well. So please go ahead and check out Kerry at Burning It Up Hat Company. You will not be disappointed. Yep, worth every penny. All right, y'all. I am Big E, and you are watching or listening to the Mission Ready Men briefing right here on the SHR Media Network, where you can catch Sackhead Sean with the Edge of Liberty every Monday and Wednesday at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. The Reaver of Common Sense with Jersey Joe every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. And BZ with the Berserk Bobcat Saloon every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific. He will be on tonight, and I will be joining him. I may be joining him a little late, but I will be joining him for our year-end special. So please check out all those guys. Great shows. Pray for us to have an even bigger breakthrough in 2026. We want to reach as many people as we possibly can. And thank you all for helping us reach 700. I'm not sure if we have gone much past that lately. I didn't actually take a look at that, but thank you all very much. We really appreciate it, and we hope that you continue to share our shows and help us grow so that we can reach our next milestone of 1,000. And it looks like we're at 704. So again, thank you all very much for that. We really appreciate it. And now back to our regularly scheduled programming. One of the biggest stories of the past few days, actually longer than that really, but it really blew up over the past few days, is the Minnesota fraud case. We've been talking about it now for a few weeks, but it really blew up. It really blew up with a guy by the name of Nick Shirley, who is a citizen journalist on YouTube. And he blew up his latest video. It's about 42 minutes long, so obviously I'm not going to play the whole thing. 100 million views on Twitter, and who knows how many on YouTube. He blew this case wide open, and the FBI is playing catch up, saying that they were on it. I want to believe Kash Patel. I really want to believe that he had been on this from the beginning, or at least prior to Nick Shirley's story. Excuse me. We shall see. But regardless of that, Nick Shirley, and he's been doing some really great stuff since COVID, and yeah, BZ, I was going to get to that, but it took a 23-year-old kid with an iPhone and a mic to do the job of the American media maggots, or as the American Pravda, as I like to call them. And no, and even though it's blown up, they haven't covered it, and even though it's blown up, they are giving it such short shrift. I mean, they barely mention it. There's been no segments on it, no panel discussions on it. Nothing. They are acknowledging that it happened, and that is it. That's it. But he went viral in an age when going viral is pretty much a thing of the past. But he actually did with this. He exposed the government-funded daycare centers that had no kids. No kids. This is one of his videos, one of the clips from the video that he did, and just oh my
now
goodness.
We're being followed by the Somalis. This is another.
Okay, he said now they're being followed by the Somalis. And Nick Freitas said this, and I'm saying it too. He needs to get security. He needs to get some really good security at this point, because he's messing with their money. He's messing with their money, and people get really, really irritated when you mess with their money. And if they're doing illegal stuff to get it, they will do illegal stuff to keep it. But let's continue.
Daycare center, absolutely no signage, and there's no footprints in the snow of children playing outside. $5 million within the past
5.9 million in 2 years. 5.9 million they received in 2 years. That facility right there.
And now we have a group of Somalis telling us in our vehicle right now.
From this daycare center, we headed over to the infamous Quality Learning Center, which actually spells Quality Leering Center on the outside of their sign. That's how blatant this fraud is here at this daycare.
Don't open up!
So this is Quality Leering Center. I meant to say Quality Learning Center.
Don't open
They
up!
said they spelt learning wrong.
Don't open up!
How do you have ice here, ma'am? I'm literally a YouTuber.
Don't open up!
Ma'am, what do you think about the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
Don't open up! We have ice!
Another gout. Guilty. Although I don't know if she's overeducated. Maybe. But just unbelievable. Unbelievable. She has apparently no problem with her tax money going to this nonsense, which I think we can all agree there's a 90% chance, if not 99% chance, that some of that money went to a terrorist organization, Al-Shabaab. But.
And what do you think about this place being licensed for 99 children
Don't open up!
and getting $4 million
Don't
over
open
the
up! It's ice!
$4 million in the last 2 years?
Go away!
What do you think about that? Are you in
Go
favor?
away!
Are you in favor of that?
Go away!
You know where
You're
the-
not welcome here!
Are you-
Shame on you!
Are you in favor of $1.9
Shame
million
on you! It's
going
ice!
illegally,
Don't open up!
fraudulently to this business that has Quality Learning Center but can't even spell learning right on the door?
Don't open up!
Okay, I had enough of that. It goes on for a little while longer. But these people are unbelievable. Unbelievable. What a harridan. I haven't heard that word in a long time. Thanks for that, BZ. That's awesome. Oh, my goodness. So, as BZ said earlier, this kid, 23 years old, does the job that journalists should do. And I was watching someone on Newsmax this morning who said that he was basically jealous. He understands that he did the job that he and his profession should have been doing. He's probably the only one that you'll hear say that. You won't hear it on CNN. You won't hear it on BS Now, formerly MSDNC. And those outlets have given it seconds of coverage. Maybe a minute or two tops. Just a mention. Just to mention that it happened. This is embarrassing for the state of Minnesota. Embarrassing for Tampon Timmy Sugar Walls. And it's just it's just another in a long list of administrative oversights, to put it mildly, which is basically just fraud. A long list of cases of fraud. I mean, just go back a couple of weeks, we had the Feeding Our Future case. Billions confirmed already looted from the treasury and sent overseas. No oversight whatsoever. Or was there oversight and they just rubber stamped it? And even now with this story going viral, there's really not a lot of urgency that I can see. And to suggest that nobody noticed the billions getting siphoned from the treasury, nope, come on. You don't not notice billions of dollars being pilfered from your bank. You just don't. And this kid, he didn't invent this. He just followed the money. And they still will not acknowledge it. They still will not acknowledge it. Listen to this. I could not believe when I saw this, that this person actually had the nerve to let this spill out of her face.
So these were funds that were meant to go to help feed hungry people during the COVID pandemic, to help keep people in their homes who were at risk of homelessness. So first of all, if there is fraud there, that should be fully investigated, no matter where it is, whether it's in a Democratic-led state or Republican-led state. I mean, let's pull back. So absolutely, it should be investigated. The question is,
she doesn't mean that.
You know, why is this a priority in a different kind of way? The politicization of the DOJ and the FBI is undeniable. So whether
the politicization of the DOJ and the FBI, really? She didn't seem to, I doubt she had a problem. I don't really know much about this Mara Gay, but I doubt she had a problem when the Biden administration was using the DOJ and the FBI to go after President Trump and his inner circle. She didn't have a problem when Letitia James invented crimes to charge him with. She didn't have a problem when Fonnie Willis was manufacturing crimes to go after President Trump about. But now all of a sudden, with documented evidence of fraud, now all of a sudden, it's weaponization and politicization. Okay.
they are reliable narrators is the big question. And this is what happens when you weaponize and politicize federal agencies that are not meant to be, politicized. And I think the American people are right to ask the question, well, can we trust you? And that's a sad thing to say as an American. Let's recall, too, that there's also other scandals in other states. For example, the Mississippi welfare scandal. And this is not unique to politics. Americans know that. But
and the person behind that fraud scandal she's talking about is serving time. He is in jail and about to be either put on trial or sentenced federally as well. So what?
Of course, the other factor here is that because it looks like the Somali population in Minnesota, the Somali immigrant population may have been involved in some way, those people are being scapegoated, and that community is being scapegoated in a way that certainly serves the far right.
When an overwhelming percentage of the people who are being charged and have been convicted are of Somali descent, that's not scapegoating. That's just stating a fact. That's just looking at the evidence and acknowledging reality. I mean, it's just, yeah, BZ, it's called truth, absolutely. These people are ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. But wait, there's more, because Ilhan Omar, who represents a district in Minnesota, a Somali district, when she entered office, her net worth was in the negative. All she had was car debt and student loan debt. And as recently as last year, she had almost no net worth. Now, a year later, magically, she's worth $30 million. How did that happen? It's under her husband's venture capital firm, which has been valued at $30 million. But how? How did that happen? And there's reports that he wiped the names of the board members off of the website. I wonder why. Yeah, BZ, you're right. $174,000 a year salary does not equal a millionaire of $30 million in a year. Even Nancy Pelosi couldn't trade that well. Not even her. So that has to raise questions in people's minds. Now that, and she's been pictured and given held events with some of the people who have been accused and convicted of this fraud. And now she's worth $30 million. And out of $9 billion. So how did that happen? Are they going to investigate? And let's be honest, which is why I said I want to believe Kash Patel. And there are rumors that the reason why Dan Bongino is leaving the FBI is because nobody's been arrested. And if you want to know where he stands on it, the entire time he was doing his podcast, he wanted to see people arrested. He wanted to see people perp walked. And with everything that they found, still hasn't happened. So I wonder if that's why he's leaving. Because if they're not going to lock anybody up, if they're not going to prosecute anybody, the sacrifices that he made to take this job are not worth it. So yeah, the timing is suspect, and that's not proof, but that's got to be enough to prompt somebody to investigate. Maybe Nick Shirley will get some financial backing to be able to undertake that investigation and find out what exactly is going on. We'll see. Yeah, BZ, Bongino may have discovered that the deep state has made things irretrievable and irreconcilable. I mean, yeah. That's certainly within the realm of possibility, because I mean, nothing else really makes sense. Nothing else really makes sense. But let's just take a step back for a second. If it were a Republican or a conservative who magically went from a net worth of 0 to a net worth of 30 million, with the backdrop of all the fraud that's been going on. This would be all over CNN, all over MS Now, BS Now, all over it. They would already have a countdown clock counting down to this person's arrest. They would be dispatching investigative reporters all over the place to try and find something. But because it's one of their own, no big deal. They're scapegoating. Minnesota they're not just lacking oversight, they're willfully blind, apparently. And the people connected on the inside seem to be doing remarkably well. I wonder why that is. I said early on that Nick Shirley needs to get some security, and he does, because he's being labeled as right wing. He's being vilified to the extent that it's even being mentioned in the national media, in the American Pravda. This is going to raise his profile significantly. And if he continues down this path, he is going to need, well, whether he does or he doesn't, he's going to need security for the foreseeable future behind this. I was not aware of that. Actually, you know what, now that you mentioned it, I think I do remember hearing about that he was mobbed and beaten a number of times in early videos. Yeah. So, I mean, he's got courage, I'll give him that, but now he needs to protect himself. But Minnesota has a documented problem, a long history of fraud, and he exposed it. And Ilhan Omar's wealth has increased dramatically. And so we need to find out who else benefited from these failures. What was approved and by whom, and why oversight is an afterthought. And if by some stretch of the imagination, which we all know it's not, but if by some stretch of the imagination nothing improper took place, well, then this won't matter. But if something did, that's generally why people hate sunlight. So we shall see. All right, I want to motor through this because I want to get to, actually, you know what? I will save that for another time because I could spend another I'm going to get to this because this is how I want to end the show and talk about going into the new year. We have been sold a bill of goods about how we in this era are more enlightened than our ancestors, more educated. But this enlightenment that everyone seems to be pushing it looks more like depression meds and loneliness and empty apartments. Back in the day, men married, or people in general, but men married young, built families, went to church, and died surrounded by generations of their legacy. And now we delay everything and call it wisdom or enlightenment. And this didn't happen by accident. This was a social experiment, to be sure. And as we can see, the experiment failed. Depression, isolation, feeling that your life is meaningless, those are not growing pains. Those are symptoms. Those are symptoms of societal collapse. We have marriage rates down, birth rates are through the floor, and community has been replaced by algorithms. Men are numbing themselves with drugs and alcohol and video games and porn and doom scrolling on social media. But it turns out that forsaking 2,000 years of time-tested wisdom doesn't make you smarter. Trusting the experts doesn't make you smarter or more enlightened. It makes you lost. And scripture has warned us that the paths that feel right don't always end well, especially when you're not guided by the word of God. The heart of man is deceitful above all things. We were lied to, and not just men, but everyone. But obviously, I'm going to be focusing on men. But we were lied to. The sexual liberation, porn rewired men's brains. It rewired men's brains to consume rather than connect. And casual sex just completely shattered any notion of bonding or trust, which is what it was meant to do by God's design. And everyone was promised this sexual liberation was going to be freedom, but all it delivered was bondage. And then another lie we were fed was that children are burdens, that family became a financial spreadsheet rather than something you were called to do. Comfort replaced legacy. And this smart planning just keeps producing regret after regret. And then the last lie is that you don't need God. Meaning was replaced with dopamine. Purpose was replaced with distraction, doom scrolling, video games, nihilism dressed up as enlightenment. And back then, just think back to just go back to World War II. Marriages lasted because people understood that those vows mean something. Boys were raised with a sense of responsibility, and they were trusted with responsibility before they were trusted with comfort. And in a lot of cases, comfort never really came. I mean, think about, that was a generation of young men who lied about their age to get into the military so they could go fight, as opposed to lying to get out of fighting. Young men back then worked, fought, sacrificed, and endured. They had a purpose bigger than themselves. They had their family, faith, community, with an eye, in many cases, towards eternity, serving God. Strength rooted in love rather than weakness disguised as virtue these days. You know, before I move on, I found this, and I was doing my final prep for the show and just happened to come across, I heard somebody else commenting on it, and I absolutely had to talk about this, and it fits perfectly with what we are doing here. And I thought I had it queued up, but give me a second to bring it back. This is an example of someone who is absolutely not mission ready. Check this out.
Viral security footage captured on December 6th shows the terrifying moment a woman was forced to fight off a knife-wielding mugger after her much taller male companion chose to step back and hide behind a wall.
Can you believe that? That is not someone who is mission ready on any level. I saw that and I was disgusted
in a move
and mystified.
He's now unfortunately paying for with internet infamy. The pair of American tourists were walking down the street on vacation in Colombia when the armed attacker suddenly approached them, lunging at the woman trying to steal her phone.
He runs away. Someone is attacking his companion. We don't know if that's his girlfriend, wife, whatever, but everyone's assuming that they are on vacation together as at least boyfriend and girlfriend, and he runs away. Someone is attacking your woman and you run away? What? Can you imagine? Can you imagine someone even 25 years ago running away as someone is attacking their wife or girlfriend? I can't even imagine it now. I'm seeing it on video and I'm like, how does this happen? Well, it happens because this guy was raised on soy lattes and group hugs, apparently.
according to Newsflash. A man passing by on a motorcycle is then seen doing what her companion failed to do, jumping into action to help the woman. The passerby hopped off his bike and hit the mugger in the head with his helmet. A few other people passing by also jumped in to help.
She's doing more to fight this guy off than he is. He's hiding. Wow.
Fight the mugger off in a dramatic struggle.
And he's still, look at it. Wow.
Only once the thief was subdued is her companion seen managing to make his way out from behind the wall to comfort the woman. Local authorities reportedly took the suspect into custody for full identification, but ultimately didn't arrest the man because no
and then he ran away again.
theft was committed and no complaint exists from the affected persons. This now viral clip has sent shockwaves through the internet, with many criticizing the man's decision not to help his female companion. While the pair has not been publicly identified and their relationship is unknown, many online shamers imagined a romantic relationship, with one Redditor joking, "That's gonna be an awkward vacation," to which another responded, "Yeah, but the video will do nicely in the divorce filing."
I mean, whether your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, friend, if you're with a woman and some guy runs up and attacks her with a knife, whoever she is, whether you know her or not, if you don't step in and do something, you don't even qualify as a beta male, honestly. And that guy was absolutely not mission ready on any level. And if she is with him or she was with him, I sincerely hope she broke up with him on the spot. On the spot. The man card needs to be turned in. Did he even have one to begin with? But anyway, I wanted to show that. I meant to show that at the beginning, but as an example of someone who is clearly not mission ready. But getting back to the point, faith plays a huge role in being mission ready, and faith without discipline is really just wishful thinking. And that guy, we obviously know nothing about him, but I don't know what his relationship with God is, if he has one or what. But whatever it is, he needs to pray about that, because that was a pathetic display. But anyway, 1 Corinthians 9:27 says, and this is a letter from Paul to the Corinthians, "But I discipline my body and keep it under control, lest after preaching to others, I myself should be disqualified." And he's talking about athletics, because in this letter, the Corinthians are, they have the Olympics and the Isthmian Games. And so they're a very athletic type society. They emphasize that. And so that's why he's talking about, and if you read the whole thing, 1 Corinthians 9, 24 through 27, he talks about running a race and not running it in vain, and running it to for a crown and stuff like that. It's worth reading, but I want to get through this because I spent too much time on that beta. But anyway, discipline isn't just training your body. It's about controlling your base appetites. And someone who can't control their base appetites, whether it's the food they eat or the alcohol they drink, the images they consume, whatever it may be, if you can't control that, you can't be trusted to lead. And physical readiness, as Paul was talking about, isn't just vanity. I used to get that a lot when I was in my younger days and working out. People would say it was just for vanity's sake. And at that point in my life, that was probably somewhat true. But it isn't just vanity, keeping yourself ready. It's stewardship. You don't train because you are looking for violence. You train because violence and evil exists. And being passive like this guy is not holiness. What this guy did was just as evil as the attacker, because he did not fulfill his obligation as a man. I talked about in a podcast a while back, probably a little over a year ago, about dangerous men. And as Christians, we should be dangerous. And that doesn't mean violent. That doesn't mean out of control. It means gentle, but capable. It means calm, but formidable. When you walk into a room, people should understand that there's something about you that commands respect. And that's not big muscles. That's not anything physical like that. It's you walking in the knowledge that you are capable, you are ready, you are a man of God. It means being, in addition to being calm and gentle, loving and decisive, able to make decisions for the best interest of the people around you. Families should feel safe with you, not away from you. And society fears disciplined, strong, mission-ready men more than criminals, because they do everything they can to, they call it toxic masculinity. They try to disarm you. They tell you that being able to defend yourself is toxic. But letting a criminal who has been arrested 35 times back out on the street for a 36th time, that's fine. That's compassion. That should tell you everything you need to know about these people. So as we get into 2026, yes, masculinity, BZ, is mandatory. Masculinity is not the problem. The lack of masculinity is the problem. Yes. Something along the lines of having a quiet aura of watchfulness and not hesitant. Yep, absolutely. That is absolutely right. So as we get into 2026, we as men, we as a society are at a crossroads. Are we going to sacrifice for comfort or character? Are we going to have discipline or allow decay? Are we going to submit to God or be a slave to our appetites? And no one is asking for perfection. That can't happen. There was only one perfect person. And perfection is something that can never be achieved by anyone. But we can be obedient and repentant when we know that we messed up. As we go into 2026, we need to stop allowing ourselves to be test subjects in someone else's failed ideology. We need to stop letting ourselves be buoyed on a sea of demonic ideas put forth by this society. And we need to go back to the way things used to be. And I remember hearing people say that back in the day and be like, why do we want to go back? Why do we want to go back? What's so great about the past? Now I know. Jeremiah 6:16 says, thus saith the Lord, stand by the roads and look and ask for the ancient paths where the good way is, and walk in it and find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk in it. It's a pretty powerful verse. I came across it when I was preparing this segment, and wow, I've read it a few times already, just in my reading of the Bible. I've read it, but this time, wow. The ancient paths still work. The modern ones are the ones that are killing us. The modern ones are the ones that are killing men and calling it progress. In 2026, we need to stand firm, be strong, and act like the men we were called to be. And choose the ancient path. Choose the one that leads to life. 2026 is going to be a great year, especially if we can get more men to choose the ancient path. Anyway, folks, that is it for this briefing. I'm not trying to just fill airtime. I'm trying to equip Christian men, spread the gospel of Jesus Christ, and carry the banner of faith, freedom, and hope into the next generation. So if that matters to you, don't just watch, share it. Share this episode, share the channel. Bring other men into the fight. And if you want to wear what you stand for, like this shirt, This is the 250th anniversary t-shirt, 1776 to 2026, if you can see that. And in fact, let's take a look at the back of this bad boy. I meant to actually, here we go. This is the back of the t-shirt. 250 years. So if you want to wear what you stand for, head over to missionreadymen.com, hit Shop 7 Armors, and check out all the great designs over there, like this one and the other ones we have about bold faith, true grit, and unapologetic patriotism. And remember, when seconds count, the police are only minutes away, but the Lord is right there with you, so keep your prayers going up and your head on a swivel. God bless.